guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to have you join me today. We have another great sublimation tutorial, and this time we are focusing on the ins and outs of sublimating with your Cricut EasyPress 2. Okay guys, so let's get ready to sublimate with our wonderful Cricut EasyPress. Now, I do love the Cricut EasyPress. I use it for a lot of things, and I really love it for sublimation because I can control the pressure. And that is good for sublimation because I don't have to constantly update the pressure on my heat press. Okay, so it just all depends on how much pressure I apply myself. And the EasyPress 2 is what we're using today. It does go up to 400 degrees, and that's important to note because the original Cricut EasyPress, I believe, only went up to 350, so it required a little bit more modification to try to use it for sublimation. But this is the EasyPress 2. This is the medium size. It is a 9x9, it comes on a little base, and then you do need something to press onto. Now, this is the largest size for the EasyPress mat. They do come in several different sizes, and then of course there are alternatives, such as I also have a black craft foam. This one is very well used, but you can get that pretty cheap also. Just search for, I believe it's gonna be called like heat safe foam or something along those lines. So just a few things. You just are trying to protect your work area. That's the only reason you really need that. So if you have a surface like ceramic tile or granite, something that's not going to be affected by excessive high heat, then by all means, you don't necessarily need the pillow, although it is still very nice. So let's go through our supplies here. I have, what you're seeing on the bottom is butcher paper. This is essential. You will also hear me call this blowout paper. It does not have to be butcher paper. It can also be uncoated parchment paper. Some people also use copy paper. So you can use whatever you have on hand. Make sure you use something that doesn't have a print. Some people talked about using notebook paper and they got some of the coloring from the notebook paper on their project, and that's just not something you want. So blowout paper. These are my sublimation prints. Now I printed these off of my sublimation printer, but you can also use sublimation, or rather use this method if you are working with infusible ink. So if you don't have a sublimation printer, infusible ink works really, really well. You can cut that with your cutting machine. You can also purchase pre-printed sublimation transfers from just a lot of different vendors. You can search for those. And then you can also use the sublimation markers, which we have recently put out a video on. So lots of good things going on if you do not have a sublimation printer. This is a mouse pad and a coaster. And these are the projects that we're using today. So they are just neoprene. All right, now it's important also to note that you do need specific items for sublimation. You need to make sure that you're either purchasing it from a sublimation vendor, or it is a item that you have seen sublimated on before. Like you'll see sometimes things will pop up in the Facebook groups or on certain blogs, and they'll tell you, hey, you can go to this store, you can go to that store, and they have this item. Those are okay too. But where I'm going with this is do not run down to your local store and just start buying things, because it does either have to be coated for sublimation or it needs to be a high count polyester fabric, okay? And then this, of course, is just more butcher paper. This is sized down so that we'll be able to sandwich our design. And then this is my personal favorite. This is Krylon Easy Tack. You can tell I've had this for a while. A little bit goes a long way. And this will help us to keep our sublimation print in place and prevent something called ghosting. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, normally I would trim around each of these designs. I don't know if you can see or not. My printer actually sometimes will leave a little ink along the edges. Because my blanks are gonna fit inside, I don't have to do that for this project, but just something to keep in mind. It's not a bad practice to develop. You're going to take, here we'll do the small one first. You will take your print, give your adhesive a good shake. You can also use heat tape, guys. You don't have to use the spray. And you could technically get away without either one of them, but it's a good practice. You won't be sorry. Line up your design so that you can see just a little bit. Now I got this, this little outline by using my print bleed. So definitely check that out in whatever software you're using. So this is adhered. It's on there really well. I'm gonna put one on the bottom, turn this over because I do wanna make sure that my print is against the heat plate, and then another piece on top. Now this is preheated to 400 degrees for 60 seconds. Neoprene typically needs about 45 seconds worth of heating time. And I'm gonna apply what I'm gonna call medium pressure. I don't know that it really is medium pressure, but it's not the same amount of pressure that I would use for heat transfer vinyl. I don't need that much pressure. Now, if you're ever curious about the time and temperature that you should be using for your projects, make sure you reach out or search the website where you purchase the item from, because each vendor will usually have like a tried and true tested time and temperature for you. And a lot of times they will have templates also that come with their projects. That way you can size your design accurately. Both of these projects are circles, so that's how I was able to size my circle correctly. I just measured them. All right, so I am peeling back. I peeled off the butcher paper. You can see my design. You do want new butcher paper every single time. And then in one swoop, pull off your print, and this is done. You see how you have a little bit of extra ink? Okay, but guys, be very careful when you handle it. This is our coaster. Yay, I love it. Okay, let's do the mouse pad. Now I do also want to say, because I did not cover this to begin with, when you're working on neoprene items that have a black backing, a black rubber backing, your design will, I don't want to say it comes out faded. It's a very vibrant color. All right, but you do not get super, super bright prints. So don't be disappointed. I like using neoprene. I use it a lot. I use a lot of different neoprene projects, but it's just something you kind of have to accommodate for. So for example, if I was going to use a photo, all right, that's a good example. If I was going to use a photo, then I would want to increase the brightness of my photo. Hopefully that helps to explain it a little bit better. Okay, and I just want to make sure that I can see a little bit of my print all the way around, and I can. Now guys, you may also be asking, Becky, can I do this on items that are larger than my EasyPress? And yes, you can. It is not as easy. I do have a video showing you how to do that, so I will link it in the description below. But the main thing that I want to stress is that you are going to not drag it, okay? I'm going to press this for the same 400 degrees. You do not drag don't move your EasyPress over like an iron. You would pick it up and replace it. And it's super, super important to definitely go heavy on your adhesive spray, because you do not want your print to move while you're pressing the different areas. All right, we moved our blowout paper, and then ready, one quick pull. There we go. So now I did not explain very well. I said the term ghosting, but I didn't explain to you guys what that meant. Ghosting is when your image will shift and it will cause like a double imprint. Okay, so that's very common. Also, usually when you're using white fabric items, you want to lint roll them ahead of time. Now these are very color intensive designs, so I did not have to do that for these. But just something to keep in mind, because if you do not use that lint roller, then if you have any little fuzzies on there, they will turn blue. So guys, that is it. So I really love, again, using my EasyPress for sublimation. I think it's really great and really useful, and it opens up a lot of different project ideas that sometimes you cannot do with a traditional heat press. So guys, how did you feel about our EasyPress project? Okay, now, if you've been watching my sublimation videos, you know that I am a big fan of using the EasyPress. They work really, really well. I think they're very underestimated, especially in the sublimation world. Now, I do want to say that not all projects work well with the EasyPress. If you are working with a sublimation project that requires a lot of pressure, then I would say you're going to need a standard full-size heat press. Okay, but for especially little projects like this, those EasyPresses heat up so quick, I can literally print this and have it pressed before my regular heat press is heated up. So really a big fan. Hopefully you learned some things today, especially if you're new to sublimation. And guys, if you have any questions, definitely make sure you leave those in the comments below. I do love to hear from you guys. I love answering your questions when I can. And make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we always have a lot of really great videos planned for you. And that's what helps us support support this little YouTube channel here, right? All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up, but thanks again for stopping by today. I do really appreciate it, and we will see you again next time.